Have you ever achieved a goal and then had this amazing feeling of accomplishment, of where you've gone, of what you've been able to do? And that usually lasts a little bit. And then there's the question of what's next. That can be a little scarier to figure out and can often get you back into a new challenge of being stuck, frustrated, and overwhelmed. We're going to discuss achieving a goal, what's next, on the 707th episode of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, good morning, Tom. We got a little late start. We were talking, oddly enough, about the CMA Awards, right?
The CMA. It turns out both of us were watching them last night.
Yes, Country Music Association, right? Is that what? Yeah.
Yes, I think it's the Country Music Awards.
Oh, okay.
I think. I'm not 100% positive.
Yeah, it's funny. Do you remember when you were a kid? I mean, we're a little older. Spoiler alert. Do you remember when those award shows were really, really important because you didn't know what the people looked like? And so, because you could only hear them on the radio. We didn't have MTV. We didn't have all these platforms where they would get on and talk. They didn't have podcasts. They didn't have Twitter feeds. They didn't have YouTube and all that stuff. So really, I remember watching the award shows and being like, that's what he looks like? His voice doesn't sound like the way he looks. And last night, I was going through some of that because I'm coming late to country music. And I'd be like, oh, that's what Luke Combs looks like. Oh, I didn't know that was Thomas Rhett. And who was the guy, the pretty boy who could grow a really good beard that was one of the hosts? Luke Bryan.
Luke Bryan. Yeah.
I'm jealous that he can grow a beard like that. That I spent the whole evening like, what am I doing wrong? Because you can't see, thankfully, for everyone, but I'm trying to grow my beard in on the sides instead of just a goatee, and it's a bad experiment.
Growing a beard, huh?
Some might say it, but I think I would have to really, that's stretching the definition of the word beard. It's coming in white.
Preparing really for the winter, or just no shave November? Or what's your impetus for doing this?
I started down this road. I've always wanted to have like the just the scruffy beard look all the way around. I've always like, as long as that's been popular. And every year there's a period when it gets cold every year where I try to do it and my hopes are dashed. And then I have to figure out a new goal. So we this is a case where, we haven't talked about this. Maybe this is our topic for next week, when you don't achieve a goal and how you deal with it. And that's how the beard has been. I can grow it down on my chin pretty well, but not up here. I there's someone who I hope isn't listening to this, because I will hear about this a lot.
You hope that people don't listen to our show?
One person in particular in this regard.
Okay, fair enough.
So, but because of the lighting and all, no one's going to know that. I mean, I don't even know if you can tell can you tell I have facial hair on my chin?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Can you tell there's any hair on the sides there? Probably not, because it's so white.
Not really. And the people on the podcast are losing interest. So we might want to move along because they can't see any of it.
Well, at least they have a reasonable excuse today. I can't speak for what their excuse was yesterday.
Fair enough. All right, everyone. Good morning.
Let's rock and roll.
Yeah. Good morning and welcome to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, where each weekday morning we have a conversation.
I want to hear this. Each weekday what? We talk about topicality, Bob's facial hair growth, and...
Okay. Each weekday morning we have a conversation around a topic. I guess today's topic is going to be Bob's facial hair. And no, it's not going to be the topic. Oh, we might end up there because he's going to have to figure out what's next. We're actually going to talk about achieving a goal. We've been talking about that all week. And, I think we talked yesterday about the challenges. And if you missed that, you might want to go back and listen to it. I think it was a good discussion, a lot of things going on in that conversation. And you might want to go back and listen to episode 706. And while we go through that conversation around our topic, we encourage you to share your thoughts, ideas, whether you're following us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, or
LinkedIn Live, baby.
LinkedIn Live, baby. Yes, indeed. Where you have the opportunity to share your thoughts and ideas that will have an impact on our show and the conversation that we have. And we appreciate that very much. At the end of our discussion, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote, that thing that we hope might help someone who is trying to figure out what's next as they try after they've achieved a goal and they're struggling to do that. Hopefully, maybe we have the antidote for that. And maybe it's today, or maybe it's somewhere further down the road when you can recall this new knowledge, experience, and perspective we've provided and leverage that to figure out how to take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. And of course, if you have an antidote that you'd like to share, your one thing, please feel free to put that in the comments as well, because what you share might be something different, and it might be exactly what someone else is looking for. Before we dive into that conversation, though, each morning, Bob and I share our celebrations. Bob, what are you celebrating today?
Well, I'm glad I get to go first because I think you're going to celebrate the same thing with me today.
So you're stealing my celebration. Is that what
I'm
you're saying?
stealing your celebration. We have been talking about the workshop that we're going to do on December 8th in Baltimore a lot. Just little nuggets of it. We had one sort of serious planning meeting, I don't know, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. And yesterday we came together, not like it just sort of happened organically. We didn't plan it, but I felt like we put some really cool touches on it. And really, I was excited about it before yesterday, but after yesterday's meeting, I can't wait for it. I can't wait for the opportunity to, one, participate and be involved, but also to participate and get the benefit of it. And so I celebrate the fact that we really, I think we've harnessed a lot of what we've experienced over the last couple of years working together and a lot of what we've seen in coaching people. And it's all manifesting itself right there in that workshop on December 8th in Baltimore. And I will put the link to the new ready to go registration page. Bravo, Tom. Right in the chat right now. And please check it out. Please consider joining us. I think it's going to make a huge impact on how people can look at the end of this year and the start of next year. I know just thinking through it yesterday, I was playing a scenario. I didn't tell you this, but I was playing a scenario through my head as we were talking through the steps. And I was like, ooh, I'm starting to understand this. At one point, I was going to say, Tom, can I have like 5 minutes? I need to write some notes because it was really starting to connect for me. So I don't know if you felt the same thing. You seemed pretty excited by it too.
Well, I think that, and part of my celebration is that I found some new clarity around it. I think our discussion yesterday helped because there was a couple of things that that we talked about that I was like, how might this be helpful in this? And so then I was diving deeper into like the planning document of it because I felt like I wanted to have that background information as I was finishing up the registration page. And I think it provided some new clarity around some things. And then I had a conversation with my coach around it because I asked them to review the registration page and they provided some additional thoughts that I thought were really helpful. And one activity that we're definitely going to do, although I'm not going to share with you because I'm going to save that as a surprise.
You teased you a little yesterday.
Did I?
Yeah, you just said, I've got an activity to add, but I'm not going to tell you about it.
Oh, I don't remember saying that.
And I like a good surprise.
Yeah, and I think it'll be something that not only you will enjoy, but I think all of our participants will enjoy, and it will add some additional value to the event. There's already a lot there, I think. And I think that if you are someone who is trying to figure out what's next, because you've either achieved a goal or you've been trying to achieve a goal and you're struggling with that, you have this big dream that you've really done not much but dream about. This might be the great opportunity for you to get that dream out of your head and figure out how to move forward and actually take some steps toward that dream. And I think you may discover you're further along towards it than you might have thought. Anyhow,
that's what happened to me yesterday with this thing I was thinking through.
Oh, interesting.
I realized that I was further along, so I had to recalibrate, which was really a great opportunity. The other thing that I think it's fair to say, Thomas, we're doing this in Baltimore, and if you want to come to Baltimore for it, that's great. I think if you asked real nice, Tom and I might do one that would be virtual for people outside Baltimore. So just let us know you're interested if that's the case. And if we get enough interest, I think I can talk Tom into it.
I think so. And I would also offer that if your organization is struggling to put together goals, that this might be a really good one-day workshop or half-a-day workshop for your organization to help you and your team figure out how to create your own, maybe some team goals as well as their own individual goals. Because I know that that's something that people struggle with. So
or they put the same goals they've always put.
Or they just recycle them. Correct.
Here are my 3 goals for next year. Increase sales.
Yes. How we're going to do that?
My time better. Keep my desk clean. Okay.
Yes. That sounds familiar to some goals I've seen. So I'm excited.
Clean one.
So my celebration is completing that step. That was a big goal to get that part of it done. So now the next step is coming in, which leads us right into our conversation. So Bob, as we talk about achieving a goal and what's next, do you have some thoughts or ideas around that?
Well, first of all, I have tried very hard in the last maybe 6 months to not worry about what comes after achieving the goal until I've achieved that goal. I used to be 3 goals ahead in my head and worrying about the thing that, oh, what if this person buys this thing? Can I deliver? And whereas I should have probably been worried about, let me have the best discussion I can have with this person so they understand my value and we see how it fits and all that. And I'm worried about 6 steps down or 12 steps down. So the first thing I would say is, in terms of this, not looking too far ahead and really making sure, I'm also someone, I was talking to someone about doing some work together, and I had to we haven't signed anything. We haven't committed to anything. We have it in concept. And I've got to make sure that I don't say I achieved that goal of I have a new coaching client until it's actually done. Because I tend to be that person. In fact, at one point in my life, someone's like, I really struggle to keep track of how many clients you have because it seems like there are a lot of people that you tell me, this is a new client. And then 2 weeks later, you tell me this is a new client. And then 2 weeks later, you tell me you signed the contract. Then 2 weeks later, you tell me that they made their first payment. So in my mind, you have 4 clients, but in reality, you have 1. And I think that's one of the things I've had to work through. And then the other thing about it is, I think the new goal is often easier to identify than we plan for, than we think about.
Sometimes.
I think a lot of times, for me at least, that new goal is murky until I achieve something. And then it's like, oh, well, this is the logical next goal. Like yesterday, we felt really good about what we had put together. And my inclination last night, I had plans, but it was like, I want to tell everyone about this. I want to email the 10 people I know this would be really great for. And so that next goal in the process of putting together that workshop, sharing the word, came like there wasn't a discussion that I had to have with you or me about it. It was like, okay, that's the next step. And if we get, the number of people we're looking for involved in it, and then the next step is going to be, okay, whatever. I don't even know. I'm not looking that far down the road. And I think that's the biggest thing to me, is not to be looking so far ahead, but that next goal, what?
Keep going.
No, what's that look? You got
finish, and then I'll share.
Am I talking about the wrong topic?
No. It's just fascinating based on a conversation we had yesterday. So finish.
Oh boy. I don't even remember what I was saying. Now I'm overthinking. I'm trying to compute what you figured out about me that I haven't figured out myself.
Well, you were talking about trying not to look forward too quickly. Or look, okay, we figure one thing out, now we're going to jump right to the next without like, and I think that's an interesting thought. You know, you said something on the show today about it's easier to think of the next step once you've completed the first step. And I think one of the challenges is that's what's happened. We complete a step and we don't always take the time to do some other things, and we then jump to the next thing. I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but I'm going to share this. So yesterday, when we had the sales page ready, registration page, did I say sales page? Registration page. Ready. And we got excited about, you know, and I think we shared some of the things back and forth and got excited about where we thought it was going. Bob then says, well, maybe we should do this in like Wilmington, Delaware, and we could do it in West Virginia, and we could do it in, take it all over the place. And I was like, okay. I mean, I like that idea. I don't disagree with it at all. I just wonder, I mean, if we're doing it this December 8th, to put that together, we're getting closer to the holidays where I'm not sure people, well, we could just do it December 8th, December 9th, December 10th. And
wow, we're going this road, huh?
No, I think it shows exactly what you were talking about getting excited about completing a goal.
Okay.
And then jumping ahead. And I think what I said to you is, you know, I'd like to sort of get proof of concept. You know, we created language that we thought is going to really explain what this workshop's going to be. Yet we haven't shared it with anyone else. And so I was curious if that would resonate with people. Now, it may resonate
if you want
with
to
people.
See that language, go to that page. The link is in the chat.
Nice. And I think that was.
You felt obligated to do that.
It's all right. And my feeling was, well, let's see how this resonates, because our network is much more here. Let's see how it resonates, and then we'll figure it out. And not that was just what was real for me. What was real for you in the moment was, let's think about where else we can do this. And I think that's sort of an example of you're talking about, okay, we've done one, let's just move forward. And I might say we've completed a step towards a goal, and we've completed a sub goal within that. So what's the next goal? And I think sometimes that's what happens, is we complete a goal and we think about the next big step, not necessarily the next smaller step.
Or our enthusiasm takes over.
Sure, right,
or
absolutely.
Our emotions, you know, because like, oh, we solved this riddle. Because I don't know about you, but over the last couple of weeks, I've thought about this a lot. And you know, it was like, okay, now we solved this. Let's go. Let's share it with everyone in the world, which is not a bad thing. I mean, no. It's a good thing, but it's also got to be measured and tempered. Because it's funny, as you said that, I'm glad you shared the example, because I'm prone to do that. I could give you countless examples of what you just described me wanting to do, where I've done it only to fall flat on my face, because like, wait, you skipped the intermediate steps. That would be, hey, and you know, I think that's a great reason to really think about that workshop we're doing, in fact, because it's going to help figure out the next steps. Because if you think about what you and I did when we went through this workshop with me, we kind of looked at the big step. If this thing goes the way you want it to, you're going to be way out here. And then we built back.
Right.
And so it measures that and reins that in a powerful way.
Yes, because if all you think about, if you spend, all you do is spend your time thinking about the bigger picture, which again, I think is great to identify. I think we talked about this earlier in the week. And it's also great to say, okay, that's out here. Let's go back. It reminds me, and I've told this story, I believe, before, but I think I was at an in-person workshop with this coach I really respect. And we were trying to talk through, like, people were trying to work through what's their process. What is the transformation they help their clients go through? And she literally brought people up on stage and would say, okay, well, what's the challenge they're facing and what's the next step? And they would walk together across the stage. And when someone would say something like, I can't even remember what an example would be, but it was really 3 steps ahead, not 1 step ahead. She would bring them back and say, that seems like that's a pretty big step. What's the next step between that? And I think it's just a good reminder of, yes, we want to be aware of what the end goal is and the big opportunities and potentials that could provide. And all of those little steps but to help us get there are really valuable to then be better prepared or differently prepared for how we can leverage what we've just accomplished. And I think that's a significant thing that people think about. You think about, all right, I set this goal. Like if you're in a business and you say, hey, we're going to generate $1 million in revenue this year, which is up from 750 last year. And if you say, oh, that's that goal, and you start thinking about what that might be like, and that means I might have some extra money laying around, and maybe let's plan this big trip because we're going to make all this extra money, and it's starting to look good. Like the first quarter goes well, and you like jump ahead and say, hey, all right, great, we're going to get this. Let's plan a trip to Europe for a month after that as a celebration. Okay. And then what happens if you if you start thinking about that trip and you forget about all the steps that you need to do to move forward to get to that goal? There's a pretty good chance you're going to miss some. And when you get at the end of it, you might be like, oh, we got back to 750. We didn't really get to 1 million. What do I do now about this other thing that I have already laid out? And yet I didn't really achieve what I thought I was going to achieve. Does that make any sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense. I sort of paused because I need to think through it. This is one of those episodes, we get a lot of them, but this is one where it really applies to me. So I'm trying to participate as one of the people involved in the program, but also participate as someone who's like, oh yeah, that explains a lot. And
I think it's easy to do though. It's something that, because the little steps in between are usually hard, challenging. Okay. That end goal, now that you've imagined it, it becomes a reality.
Yeah, in your head, yes.
In your head, right. And you want to get there faster. And I think one of the challenges is sometimes this all just takes time. Right. And that's the one thing that we have no control over. All right, we just are, this is what we have. And we can't wish to be forward. I can't wait until December because now we're going to have achieved this goal. And then that means in January, we're going on this awesome trip and forget about the whole second half of the year and what that looks like. And before you know it, you're getting nearer to the end of December and you're like, not sure we're going to make it. Now what do we do? And you've thrown in a new whole challenge into what happens if we don't achieve our goal.
Right. I think of in regards to sports teams, right? They win their first game of the season. A football team wins their first game. And it's like, they're going to the Super Bowl. They look so good. And then the second week comes and they play a different team and they lose. And suddenly it's like, whoa, okay.
Right. Everybody's jumping off the bandwagon. Like, well, what?
Yes.
Yeah. It is funny how a little setback will sometimes derail people, or a small step that seems like a big achievement will get them all jazzed up and fired up and like, oh yeah, this is where it's going to be. And I think that's a little bit as a part of living in the moment that you're in, to ensure that you take full advantage of all the knowledge, experience, and perspective that you can gain from it. And that when we look ahead too often, we might miss some of those things.
And I think it also points out to the need that someone in your life that can be the one to temper that. You stopped me yesterday and said, hey, wait a second. We're here and you're way out here. I need that in my life. And I think most of us do in some respect or another. And that's where I think the value is of, having a coach that can say to you, hey, I know you're excited about this, but what about this? And maybe there are 3 steps along the way that you probably want to really zero in on before you start celebrating that, you're the greatest salesperson of the year, or you're the best leader of the year. Yeah, you had one great meeting with your team. That's awesome. Do it 52 times in a row, and then maybe we have something. And even if you do it 52 times in a row, you're going to have new goals at the end of the 52 probably.
Well, and you've got all the other interactions that you might have with your team in between the big meetings that may or may not have more value or more impact on your team than just that meeting. And I think that's sometimes the mistaken, I can't think of what the right word is, but it's like you believe this illusion.
Yes.
That this is what's gonna happen.
That's a great word for it, the illusion. And so, Tom, I think it's that time we come up with our one thing. I think my one thing is that what you helped me realize, and I'm not sure I'm going to get the words right on this because I'm really still playing with it in my head, but
just what's real for you, not right.
Well, no, it's just I'm still processing it. But I think it's something around the idea that we can get taken by what the goal means when we achieve it very easily at times when we get through one or two or maybe even three of the hard steps. We start the victory lap on mile 20 of the marathon when we still have 6 hard miles to go. And I think that's what you pointed out. And I think that's what I was doing yesterday. I was doing the victory lap before we even ran the race. Like, I got this covered.
And I think that's okay. I mean, that's, I think, okay, great. People, you can get excited about, you do something that gets you really excited about the long-term potential, I think is awesome. Better than, or it's different than if you were like, well, yes. And that doesn't mean that anything else is going to, you'd be the killjoy of it.
Right.
I think there's some harmony in there.
There's a happy middle ground.
Yeah. I think
which may be very hard to find on our own. I tend to go one way or the other. It's a pendulum swing for me. So I think having someone like you that I can talk to about things that I'm going through, and you say, well, what about this? And not in a jerk way like, Bob, you're doing it again, but just, hey, have you thought about this? Or have you thought about this? Like we were talking about something yesterday, and you're like, what was the next step? To bring me back to, hey, there's something here, but we need to think about that next step. What's yours today?
So my one thing around achieving goal and what's next, I think it's something that I try to remind myself all the time. And I think it helps temper a little bit without completely blocking that excitement and the possibilities of what could come, is to really go through the process of achieving the goal and celebrating. And if you've listened to us for a long time, a lot of it is about the action. So we're celebrating the action of getting to that point. And then I think by celebrating the actions, not the results, you can stay focused a little bit on that and not get lost in, I'm the greatest thing ever and blah, blah, blah. And everything else from now on is going to be simple and easy and don't have anything to worry about. Oh my God,
you're in my head.
And so I think if you take the time to celebrate, and then what I like to say, what's next is, how do you go back and reflect on it? And how do you measure what you've done? And I think, we talk about these 3 questions all the time, but what went well, what didn't go as planned, and what might you do differently? That when you do that reflection, it keeps you in the moment, and it gives you a chance to sort of understand where are you now that's different than you were before, and allows you to understand this and take all the knowledge, experience, and perspective you can from this moment in time, then to start to think about what's next after that. And I think when you've done that, you have some clarity around, wow, it's awesome that we're at this point, and it wasn't easy to get here. So whatever we think of next, it's going to be awesome when we get to that point, if we do. And there's a lot of hard work that goes into it between each one. We can't just be like, oh, all right, we figured it out, and now let's go forward. And I think in our example that we were talking about is, yes, there's one thing about doing it here in Baltimore there are some scenarios about it trying to do that thing somewhere else that aren't the same. So it's going to be different. And if we don't take a moment to think about how is that different, we are just going to do what we did to get to this point and likely not get the results that we expect, because there are different pieces that have to be considered, because it's a whole different opportunity. So I guess, and to sum that up, it would be, what's next when you achieve a goal for me? Celebrate, measure, set your next goal.
Wow, I like that.
Thanks.
I like that a lot.
All right, everyone. If you have one thing you'd like to share, you're listening to the podcast and you don't have a chance to share anything, please feel free. If you're watching us, please feel free to put that in the comments. If you would like and you don't want to share it in the comments here, you can join one of our groups or go to our groups. If you're a LinkedIn person, go to LinkedIn, the Renegade Success Network for Leaders group. You can share your thoughts and ideas and your one thing there. If you're a Facebook person, you can go to the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. Dive in there and share either your antidote or other thoughts that you have around the topic of achieving your goal and what's next, because we know that it'll add value to someone else. And while you're in there, you might find some value that could be really beneficial for you as you try to figure out how to take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. So we look forward to seeing you inside one of those groups. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time, for our next episode. Bob's favorite episode of the week.
Discoveries of the week. Yes.
We will talk about that.
Lots discovered this week.
Awesome. It'll be a good show then. I'm excited about it.
I look forward to it. 7 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Yes. So we will see you then. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, and embrace the renegading you. I know I say it every morning, and I mean it sincerely. The more you embrace that renegading you, the more fun you're going to have today. Give it a try.
Absolutely. All right, everyone, go out and make it a great day. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.